Good morning, everyone. We'll start with Unit 4. The chapter name is Writing Embedded Code and Business Model. So we'll start with chapter number 8, that is Techniques for Writing Embedded Code. And the topics which we are going to cover here is memory management, types of memory, making the most of your RAM, performance and battery life, libraries and debugging. So let's begin with the very first topic, that is memory management. So before we start, we should first understand that what do you mean by memory. So memory here we are referring to a computer memory. So computer memory is just like your human brain where it will store the data and instructions. It acts as a storage space into your computers where your data is processed and the instructions which are required for processing are also stored here. So that is your memory. When we talk about memory management, it is a process that will help you to control and coordinate the computer memory by assigning the portions that is called as blocks, or you can say threads at times, to various running programs to optimize the overall system performance. So mostly when we talk about memory management, it resides in your hardware, that is in your operating system and in the programs and applications. So when we talk about memory with respect to your embedded system platforms and normal computing platforms, there is a very big difference between the two, because the normal computing platforms, or you can say your laptops and servers, always comes with the memory which is always have storage sizes in gigabytes. But when I talk about memory with respect to microcontrollers, your embedded devices, your IoT devices, or your platforms like Arduino and Raspberry, which we have already studied before, they also comes with inbuilt memory which is always in storage sizes that is just kilobytes. So that is your big problem when we talk about your embedded devices, your microcontrollers and IoT devices. They have some limitations with respect to the memory sizes. So over the screen, you can see your memory types is divided into two. First is your primary memory and second is your secondary memory. So when we talk about primary memory, it is also called as main memory, and it holds only those data and instructions on which the computer is currently working on. So it has a limited capacity and the data is lost when the power is switched off, because they are generally made up of semiconductor devices and these memories are not fast as your registers. And the data and instructions that is required to be processed is resides in your main memory. So when we talk about primary memory, it is categorized into two types. First is your ROM and second is your RAM. So let us start with the ROM, that is read-only memory. So this memory is one where you can only read but you cannot write because it is read-only memory. And this type of memory is non-volatile in nature. Okay, that means that information which is stored into it, okay, once stored, it cannot be changed. So that is called as non-volatile. The information is stored permanently in these memories during the manufacturing process. And ROM basically stores those instructions that are required by your computers, and this operation are referred as bootstrapping. Next, when we talk about ROM, these chips are not only used in the computer, but it is also used in other electronic systems, okay, where you cannot make any changes. So examples of your ROM are your washing machines, your microwave ovens, calculators, and all your peripheral devices. So when we talk about ROM, it is categorized into three, that is your PROM, EPROM, EEPROM. So when we talk about first PROM, it can be programmed by the user, and once programmed, the data and instructions in it cannot be changed. So that P word refers to programmable. So that is why it can be programmed by the user. Second, EPROM, it stands for erasable programmable read-only memory. So it can be reprogrammed, and to erase the data, we usually use ultraviolet rays. And to reprogram it, you have to make sure that you have to erase all the previous data. Third is EEPROM, that stands for electrical erasable programmable read-only memory. So the data can be erased by applying some electric fields. Here you don't require any ultraviolet rays, but the best part of here is that here you don't need to really erase all the previous data for reprogramming. You can erase only portions of the data which you don't want it. Last category is masked ROM, which is also referred as MROM. Okay, in this type, the contents are programmed by the integrated circuit. Okay, rather than by the user. The first ROMs were hardwired devices that used to be always pre-programmed set of data or instructions, and that is why they are called as masked ROM. Mostly they were inexpensive in nature. So we can say that ROMs are non-volatile in nature. They are cheaper than RAMs. They are very easy to test. And the contents are always known and can be verified. Let's move to the next, that is your RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory, and this is the internal memory of the CPU for storing the data, programs, and program results. It is a read-write memory which stores the data until the machine is working. As soon as the machine is switched off, the data is erased. So that's the difference between your RAM and ROM. RAM is read-write, whereas if I talk about ROM, it is just read memory. You cannot write it. When we talk about access time in RAM, it is independent of whatever you are accessing because you have different storage locations inside your memory. So according to the time or according to the program or applications, the accessing time can keep on changing. Mostly when we talk about data in RAM, it is accessed randomly and it is very expensive in nature. So the RAM is volatile in nature, that is the data stored in it is lost once we switched off or when the computer is turned off or if there is any kind of power failure. So we really need a backup for it. So most of the time we use UPS, that is uninterruptible power system, and this really helps you to have your computer systems on for a longer time and they can act as a backup for you. So RAM are usually small in sizes, both in terms of physical size and amount of the data it can hold. So when we talk about RAM, it is categorized into two types. One is SRAM and second is DRAM. So SRAM, the word here refers to static RAM and it indicates that the memory retains its constraints as long as the power is being supplied. However, the data is lost once your power goes off since the nature here is volatile. Mostly when we talk about SRAM chips, they are of type 6 transistors and there is no capacitors. So transistors usually doesn't require any power to prevent leakage. So SRAM doesn't needs to be refreshed on a regular basis. There is an extra space into your SRAM matrix which will help you to have more storage spaces, and mostly this type of RAMs are costlier as compared to the DRAM. SRAM is used as a cache memory also at times, and because of this, it is fast access is possible. So when we talk about characteristics of SRAM, has a long life that doesn't require to refresh. It is faster to access. It can be used as a cache memory. It is expensive in nature, and last, it takes higher power consumption. Let's move to next, that is your DRAM. So DRAM stands for dynamic RAM. DRAM needs to be refreshed continuously in order to maintain the data. So to do this, there is something called as refresh circuit in the memory, which rewrites the data several hundred times per second. So DRAM is used for most system memory and because it is cheap and it is small. Most of the DRAM cells are made up of one capacitor and one transistor. So that's the difference between the two. In SRAM, you have 6 transistors, but there is no capacitor. But here you have one capacitor and one transistor. So we can conclude that DRAM are something which have short data lifetime. That needs to be refreshed continuously. They are slower than SRAM. Smaller in sizes, they are less expensive and there is a less power consumption. So we can see that SRAM and DRAM are actually opposite to each other in terms of working. Let's move to the next, that is your secondary memory. So when we talk about secondary memory, they are also at times called as external memory because you are externally inserting it into your computer systems, and these memories are of type non-volatile. No doubt they are slower than your main memory, but they are also used for storing the information, and the information which is stored here is permanent in nature. So your CPU directly does not access these memories. Instead, they are accessing via input or output routines, and the contents of your secondary memories are first transferred to the main memory, and then the CPU can access it. So the examples which are common ones is your hard disk drive, flash disk drive, DVD and pen drive. So when we talk about characteristics of your secondary memory, they are magnetic and optical memories. They are also at times referred as backup memory. They are non-volatile memory. Data is permanently stored even if the power is switched off. It is used for storage of data in the computer. Computers may run without the secondary memory, but computers cannot run without primary memory. Important point is that. This is the external memory, this is backup memory, so your computers can work without them as well. Last, secondary memories are slower than your primary memories. So hope you have understood the memory. That this categorized into two: primary memory, which is also called as main memory; secondary memory, which is called as external memory or backup memory. Primary memory is divided into two, that is ROM and RAM. RAM is divided into two parts, SRAM, DRAM. ROM is divided into three: PROM, programmable ROM; EPROM, erasable programmable ROM; EEPROM, electrical erasable programmable ROM. Okay, so let's move to the next. Next topic which we have is your stack versus heap. So when we talk about stack and heap, these are the two techniques which are used for memory allocation. So heap is a region of your computer that isn't managed automatically. Okay, so it is just like a free floating memory you can see. And when you want to access this heap memory or you want to allocate heap memory, you have to use specific functions to do the same. So in C programming languages, usually the functions like malloc and calloc were used to allocate the heap memory. When we talk about stack, this is used by your modern computer system where it is always referred as a thread that can be one thread, and this thread has a reserved region of memory which is called as a stack. So in short, we can see that heap memory is used by all the parts of the application, wherein stack memory is used only by one thread of the execution. So let us begin the difference between your stack versus heap. So the very first thing, whenever we talk about stack, it is a linear structure in memory where the information is stored sequentially as stacks. When I talk about heap, heap is a region of the memory that is used for dynamic allocation where the data is stored randomly. So the very first point is the storage. So in stack, it is a linear structure where the data is or the information is stored sequentially. When I talk about heap, here the data storage is dynamic type nature and it is stored randomly. Second point, memory is explicitly allocated for automatic variables and scope of which are local to the block. In heap, memory is managed explicitly and the variables are created or initialized at the runtime. So in your stack, whatever memory allocation is done for the variable is done explicitly and the scope of the variable will be local to the block. When I talk about heap, here the memory is managed explicitly and the variables are created or initialized at the runtime. Next, stack memory uses your static memory allocation technique, whereas heap uses dynamic allocation technique. Next, whenever we talk about a function which is called into your stack, okay, so whenever a new function is called, a new block is pushed to the stack with local variables and it will return some value. When we talk about heap, the memory can be allocated to unused objects, which makes it more vulnerable to memory leakage, and blocks can be freed when there is no longer required. So when we talk about memory allocation here, so here when we talk about in stack, whenever a new function is called, all the block is being pushed to the stack and whatever value has been written by the function, it can be seen. In case of the heap, the memory allocation is usually referred to as your unused objects. So mostly your unused objects are going to be used here, and using that unused object, you are going to allocate the memory. Later on, once the working of that object is done, they can be freed and they can be no longer required after some point of time. Next, when we talk about accessing with respect to the stack, it is always fast because it is using a static memory and it uses the mechanism that is last in first out. Okay, so the variables are stored directly on the computer memory. When I talk about accessing time, which is required by the heap, it is usually slower because here you are going to use a dynamic memory technique, and in dynamic memory technique you need to allocate the memory manually and it is not done automatically. That is why it is slow in heap and it is faster into your stack. Okay. Next, we have making the most of your RAM. So when we talk about making the most of the RAM, it refers to how you can make the best use of your RAM. So when we talk about RAM, usually in your microcontrollers, in your embedded devices or in your IoT devices, we usually suffer from a lesser RAM size because mostly the size is in the kilobytes. So it is very difficult that you can have many applications working over it, and at most of the time the memory is filled up. And since if your memory is already allocated, it is already used, that application doesn't have a proper memory and most of the time they either misbehave or they crash because RAM act as a working memory for your application. And if this is lower, in that case, the load over the CPU is more and it causes overall degradation of your performance. So it is always suggested that you have to make sure you have to make best use of RAM. Try to have some RAM memory usage mechanism. Try to maximize your RAM by making the best use of it. This can be achieved by using more spaces. Try to have less applications in the background running. Avoid have multiple applications running in the background. Whenever you're going for a downloading also of the page, don't download the entire page. Use mechanism where you are downloading part by part or just chunks by the data. So the applications which are using your RAM, they are using part by part and they are not taking all together. And most important thing is, like when we talk about RAM size, already there are some pre-installed softwares into your computers or into your devices. So they are already taking some of the RAM size. Okay. So if you have more applications running in the background, try to minimize them. Make sure that you are running 1 or 2 applications only at the time, because if more applications are used, the more use of the RAM will be there, and this will actually make your performance of your application slower and it will be degraded. Okay. So you have to always take care that how you can usually maximize your RAM, what are the different techniques which is available, which will help you to do the same. Okay. You can always also try to check that what is your RAM size, and if you want, then you can even increase your RAM sizes because this is now easily available. So you have to always use mechanisms that will help you to make the best use of RAM. Okay. So let's take a quick recap whatever we have done today so far. So the very first we have started with the topic that is your memory. So memory is nothing but your computer memory, where it will help you to store the data, it will help you to process the data, and all the instructions can be stored with the processing results. So when we talk about memory, there are 2 types of memory. One is your primary memory and second is your secondary memory. So when we talk about primary memory, this is also referred as main memory. They are usually semiconductor memories and are of type volatile in nature, which means that once the power is off, the data goes off. So that is usually termed as a volatile memory. It is the main working memory of the computer. Your computers cannot work without the primary memory. So this is something which is very much important. And this is faster than your secondary memory. So when I talk about primary memory, it is divided into 2 types, that is ROM and RAM. ROM stands for read-only memory. So here you can only perform read operation, you cannot perform the write operation. Okay. So in this type of memory, this is non-volatile in nature. It is cheaper than your RAMs. Okay. And mostly it doesn't require any kind of refreshing. So there are 3 types: PROM, that is programmable read-only memory; EPROM, that is erasable programmable read-only memory; EEPROM, that is electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. Next we have RAM, that stands for random access memory. So here It acts as an internal memory for the CPU, which can store the data and program. It is a read-write memory, which stores the data until the machine is working. So as soon as your machine is off, the data is also off. So usually we use UPS, which act as a backup for them. When we talk about SRAM and DRAM, SRAM stands for static RAM. This type of RAM usually have a long life. They don't require any refreshing. They are faster in accessing. They use cache memory. They are usually expensive in nature and they require high power consumption. When I talk about DRAM, that stands for the dynamic RAM. They usually come with short lifetime. They need to be refreshed continuously. They are slower than SRAM. They are smaller in size, less expensive, and less power consumption. SRAM uses 6 transistors and there are no capacitors there. DRAM uses 1 capacitor and 1 transistor. Next category is your secondary devices or secondary memory. So these are also called as external memories and also referred as backup memories, and they are of type non-volatile. So here the data is stored permanently because this is external devices where the data is being stored, and at any point of time you can refer this. So common example are your hard disk drive, flash disk drive, DVD and pen drive. So this type of memories are magnetic and optical memories. They are referred as backup memory. They are of type non-volatile and the data is permanently stored even if the power is switched off. So the best part is that these are portable memories. At any point of time you can have with you whenever you need them, and you can have an access to them as well. So this is not your main memory, so your computers can run without it. Main memory is your primary memory, and these are your slower than your primary memories. Next, we have seen that is stack versus heap. So when I talk about stack, it refers to your memories which are used in your computer systems, which is your modern computer system, where you will refer each thread as has a reserved region of memory, which is referred as stack. When we talk about heap, it is a region of your computer that is not managed automatically. So you need some methods to allocate the memory. So on the basis of different programming language, you use methods. In C, we used to use malloc and calloc functions to have an access to it. So when we talk about stack versus heap, the heap memory is used by all the parts of your application. Stack memory is used only by one thread of execution. So the very first characteristic which acts as a difference between your stack versus heap is the information stored into the memory. So when we talk about information stored into memory with respect to the stack is of type linear structure or sequential. If I talk about heap, it is dynamic allocation and it is always random. Second characteristic is memory allocation for variables. So in case of stack, it is explicitly allocated for automatic variables and which are local to the block. In case of the heap, it is explicitly managed and the variables are created or initialized at the runtime. Next characteristic, memory used. So in case of stack, we are using a static memory, which means that memory is allocated at the compile time before the program execution takes place. In case of heap, it is a dynamic memory, that is, memory can be allocated and later on it can be freed randomly in any order if you want. Next, fourth characteristic is the calling mechanism. So in case of the stack, whenever your new function is called, new block is pushed to the stack and all the local variables along with the values or the functions which they are returning the values we can see. Okay, this same you can see over your screen as well. In case of the heap, the memory can be allocated to your unused objects and the blocks can be freed when they are no longer required. Last characteristic is your access time. So when we talk about access time with respect to the stack, the time which is taken to access the memory is always less and it is always faster as the stack uses static memory, and they are usually arranged in the fashion that is last in first out order. When we talk about excess memory time with respect to heap, it is usually slower because it uses dynamic memory, and in case of that, the memory has to be managed manually rather than automatically. So this was your stack versus heap. So these are the two memory allocation techniques which is used. So according to your requirement, you will use the type of the memory allocation technique you want. Mostly we always go for the stack memory allocation technique only. Last topic for the day, that is making the most of your RAM. So this refers to how you can make the best use of RAM whenever you are suffering from limitations with respect to the RAM size. So you can make the best use of it. So usually when we talk about all your embedded devices, your microcontrollers and all your devices comes with some limitation, and that limitation is with respect to the RAM size. So you have to always make sure that you have some mechanisms that will help you to make the best use of it. However, whenever the basic thing which you can do is that you should not allocate any memory dynamically while the program is running. Let it do it manually only, because whenever you are trying to do that, it takes more space, and at times your applications stop working, and they also misbehave at times, because RAM act as a working memory for your computer system or your applications. Your applications cannot run without a RAM. Okay, if you have a good RAM size, your application works smoothly. If it is not, then the entire load comes to the CPU and it degrades your overall performance. So as we all know that there are already pre-loaded programs which are there into our systems. So most of the RAMs are consumed by them as well. And you really cannot disable them, because those are the default programs. Those are your startup programs. Okay. So always you have to make sure that you need to check that how much RAM size is being taken by your applications. And to do this, you can right click on the task manager. You can go to the task manager option, context menu, and you can open the startup tab, and you can see how many RAM sizes being allocated or being used by your application. So always you have to make sure that you should make a best use of RAM. If you're running low of RAM size, avoid using or avoid accessing multiple applications at a time. Use one application or two applications at the time, close the task, and then start with the next one. Okay. However, nowadays we have different mechanisms also. You can even extend your RAMs. That is also possible. But still, if you are running short of RAM, then you should try to have different techniques with you, or different mechanisms has to be there, which will help you to maximize the RAM. Okay. So that's it for the day. Thank you everyone. In the next lecture, we shall take next topic.